It's time to meet Clifton.
With your host, Ray Grabowski.
Here's Ray.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, hello, and welcome to Meet Clifton, where your hometown is always our top priority. I'm Ray, and beside me, as usual, is George Silva.
How you doing,
George?
Ray? We got a hell of a show tonight.
Yeah, good to see you. We're going to have a great show. As usual, there's so much to talk about, and we have some spectacular guests this evening. So why don't we have the Two Tones play us some holiday melodies? Take it away, guys.
On tonight's Meet Clifton, Ray will be chatting with Boys and Girls Club of America Youth of the Year recipient Carlos Polanco, clinical psychologist George Carnevale, and from the Women's Club of Allwood, Dorothy Gondola and Barbara Lemley. And holiday music from none other than the Two Tones. All this and much more on Meet Clifton.
Thank you for joining us this evening. As we have mentioned time and again, Clifton is made up of some fantastic people. Some are very talented, some are renowned for their civic duty, and some are highly intelligent. Well, our first guest not only embodies all of these traits, but also is very young and has quite a bright future ahead of him. So please help me welcome Clifton's own Carlos Polanco.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Not only is Carlos the National Youth of the Year for 2007-17, he's also the national spokesperson. Obviously, he's come through the ranks through the Girls and Boys Club, and we'd just like to ask him a few questions. First of all, when did you start going to the Girls and Boys Club?
So I started going to the Boys and Girls Clubs when I was 12. My little sister was just mentoring herself. So she was being serviced by the club when she was in kindergarten.
Right.
I would go to pick her up because that's what big brothers do. And then I started volunteering and I got involved in the club because I started seeing exactly what they were giving to my little sister. Right. And it's these opportunities that they otherwise would not have.
Right. So now you went through there and you graduated high school, Clifton High School, obviously. I know you did really well. And now you're going to Dartmouth.
Yeah.
How do you think the Boys and Girls Club helped you prepare for your college
Yeah,
life?
definitely. It helped me understand that I had greater aspirations. Right. That not only did I want to go to college, but I wanted to challenge myself in going to college. Right. So I applied to many schools. My club was there for me, encouraging me. I had support systems. Right. So in kindergarten, I worked with the girls there, and they encouraged me to go after all of my dreams and aspirations and pursue my higher education. And going to CHS was wonderful because, quite frankly, you can receive a better education in Passaic County than Clifton High School.
Absolutely.
So that was great for me, graduating as a CHS alum. So I'm very proud of that.
Right. I know you spent a lot of time at the Girls and Boys Club. What moments really stand out for you?
For me are really the interactions that I had with the kids. So people like Isabella stand out. She was relentless, did not give up even though she had some learning disabilities. There were young people who reminded me of myself when I was younger, who misbehaved sometimes. Yeah. But
and that's okay.
It is, because it reminded me of when I was younger and I sometimes misbehaved. And so for me, the moments that stand out are those with the kids, but also the moments where I got to receive mentorship from people like Mr. Bob or Miss Paula or Miss A, from the girls in the club like Stephanie and Kelsey and Lisa. Right. Having that as well, having those adult figures in my life kind of supporting me definitely helped as well.
There's an excellent staff and crew out there, and I'm sure you are very close now with John and Bob and that whole Girls and Boys Club family. I know you do a lot there. So all your time going there, did it have any inspiration for you for your plans for the future? Because I know you say you work with kids. Mm-hmm. Is that your goal? It's probably not teaching, right?
Well, no, actually. My dream and goal is I'm going to become a Supreme Court Justice.
Oh, nice.
So once I graduate from Dartmouth, most likely attend law school between Harvard and Yale. Cory Booker is pushing me towards Yale because he's an alum.
Of course.
And after that, work my way up to be a Supreme Court Justice. Maybe once I retire, I'll become a professor.
That's great. And just on a personal note, and I know that you were from the Dominican Republic, and we were speaking before the show, your first language is Spanish.
Yeah.
And now you're quite articulate. Were there any blocks, coming up when you obviously you had to learn English once you were here. Was that any problems for you in school when you first started out?
No, I learned English very quickly. I surprised my teachers. They were amazed as to how quickly I picked up the language. It's the immigrant story. It's of these people coming from a different country looking for opportunity, and we found it, and I came up through the ranks through hard work, determination.
Right. I mean, here's a perfect example of someone coming up through the ranks with a lot of hurdles. Obviously not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He worked hard, and I'm sure your family did.
Yeah.
And you had aspirations, and just because language or something might have been a barrier, which obviously it's not anymore, that didn't deter you from becoming what you are now, and obviously very well educated, very well spoken person. And I think the last thing I want to ask you is, do you think, and I'm sure you do, that the Girls and Boys Club was a big factor in your life, living in Clifton and having that available to you?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you can't think of Clifton really without thinking the Boys and Girls Club. It's an integral part of the town. It's something that so many people here, so many people, not just in Clifton, but in the state, in the country, have gone to a Boys and Girls Club. So it's something that relates to you. So when you're applying to jobs, let's say, you can connect over that. We are both club kids. And just meeting people, you can connect over that. And it just helps you develop you as a person. It helps you understand that you need to work hard. It helps you understand how to get along better with people. It teaches you things that you might not learn in school or in just anywhere else. And it fosters you to be a good person, to be kind, to be understanding.
Right. I mean, this is a perfect example. Clifton has a great Girls and Boys Club, probably one of the best in the country. And obviously, Carlos is a prime example of, what you can achieve through going through an organization like this, and hopefully other kids would take the opportunity to do this. We're certainly, everyone in Clifton is proud of Carlos, and I'd like to thank you for coming on, and we know you have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The best, my friend.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
There's more Clifton. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, this is Craig, and we're bringing you your special event for the evening. So the Clifton Recreation Department will be hosting their Candyland event on Saturday, December 9th from 5 to 8 p.m. And it's the Polar Express train ride, candy cane hunt, Santa visit, food for purchase, and so much more. There's so many great events going on just within this Candyland. It's great for the kids, and it's being brought to you not only by the Recreation Department, but by the Kinder Pediatric Urgent Care. So there's so much to do, and it's going to be a great time. So bring your kids over to City Hall on Saturday, and we'll see you there.
At this time of year, there are many things that cause stress in our lives, but some of us experience stress that we cannot get rid of, and that is triggered by major events in our lives. Here again to explain more about the condition known as post-traumatic stress disorder is psychologist Dr. George Carnevale.
Thanks for coming again. We appreciate it.
Hi, George. How are you? Hi, Rick. Good to see you.
Okay, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Correct.
Okay, and that's nothing new.
It's nothing new. We say PTSD has a long history, but a short past, in the sense that it's a new name for something that's been around for a very long time.
Right, and now we hear it nowadays, and I know we were talking, George, right before the show, and he...
I got a question. Is it just the military men and women? Is it after a war they come back and they have this?
Right, because nowadays we hear PTSD, we constantly think of military or tragic with police, but it's
Right.
a lot of other things, right?
It's a lot of different things. If you just look at the news today, some of the people that are going through the wildfires in California, coming back to their homes, finding it totally destroyed. Sexual violence, domestic violence, abuse, and different things like that can create PTSD symptoms as well.
Right, so if we're dealing with this now, I don't have it, I'm pretty sure, but what would be the signs or symptoms? How would we know this basically for ourselves, how would we know if we're going through a problem like this?
Well, the main symptoms are what we call intrusive recollections. In other words, you can't get the memory of what happened out of your head, and the images, the sounds, the smells, and different sensory experiences that were there almost trapped come back in a kind of repetitive way. Even when you're not trying to think about it, they just intrude into your thought pattern. Other symptoms would be people try to avoid feelings or anything that reminds them of the traumatic event. They become very vigilant, almost paranoid of the environment around them. They're afraid that something like this could happen again. They might have nightmares. It's very common to have sleep problems, sometimes guilt reactions, particularly if there was a loss of life in a traumatic event. People feel, why did I survive, and that person didn't. They can develop a depression. So there's a lot of cluster of symptoms like that.
Right. Now this, like a lay person that's not a psychologist or psychiatrist, could they, I don't want to say diagnose, but would they be able to, like, gee, I have a friend that has this, can they sort of diagnose that, or they tell their friend, hey, you know something, I think you have symptoms, maybe you should get checked? What would they look for?
Well, I think what would be observable to a friend would be someone who cannot talk about a situation that they know, that the friend knows was a significant event that happened that was very traumatic for that person, or they become so emotional and choked up that they become blocked when they talk about it. That could be depression, but sometimes it can be PTSD.
Right.
In men particularly, there's a lot of effort to sort of numb their feelings, and that can be people who turn to alcohol or drugs in order to avoid dealing with situations.
How common is this today?
PTSD is about 15% of the population at some point in their life will suffer some sort of PTSD. And the research has indicated that women actually report PTSD symptoms more frequently than men, maybe twice or even more than twice over.
Right. Do you think for men it's like a stigma type of thing where they don't want to be vulnerable, or it's a sign of weakness type of thing? Could it be like something like this?
It's complicated. Men express their anxieties in different ways, that's true, but it's also because of the types of traumas that men and women have. They're not always the same. Men tend to have more kind of war and assault, but women tend to have more sexual violence and domestic violence, which they're sort of trapped with over periods of time. And that kind of forced situation can create PTSD in women. So because there's a really high incidence of domestic violence and violence against women, they tend to report more of the PTSD symptoms than men.
So it's not necessarily, it's for a lot of things. And for children too, I imagine, I'm not too sure what kind of trauma, but a child could go through something that's traumatic also, right?
Sure, a child could witness a traumatic event, for example. May not exactly happen to them, but children are subject to, can be abused. Unfortunately, this happens. Children experience or express PTSD in different ways. But a lot of times you see a kid who feels like they don't have a future. They feel like the future's not going to be there, and that's kind of a common sign of PTSD in children.
Because I think right now, especially for children, maybe we have to start looking closer towards this, because in our world, our society today, kids may see trauma differently than we think. For something, it might be something simple. I don't know. It could be bullying in school. I'm not too sure.
That's right. Bullying can be very devastating to a kid. And depending on the specific situation and how that kid processes that information, they could develop PTSD.
So, with all this information, what would be the common treatments for something like PTSD?
Well, it's not rocket science. People who tend to hold things in are more at risk to develop longer-term PTSD. So, getting people to talk, getting people to open up. Therapy is very helpful. Cognitive therapy is very helpful. If you can find it, group therapy is even more helpful. If you can identify a group where people can talk to others that are going through similar types of events and compare notes, that's probably even more helpful than just individual therapy. But by and large, you can improve with therapy. You have to reach out and you have to ask for help. Families, some people don't have supportive families. So that sometimes it's helpful if even family members reach out to try to get help for that person.
Right. Now I'm thinking, and maybe this might be abstract, but gone untreated, could it be devastating effects on the person down the road?
Well, there are a percentage of people who develop a chronic PTSD.
Right.
In other words, if you're exposed to a stress, it doesn't matter, a severe enough stress, a life-threatening type of situation, This morning, I saw a girl in my office who had had a gun put to her head in a bank robbery. She's a bank teller, and she's months after the incident, but she's still replaying it in her head. You can understand that, but with treatment, we expect that these things will fade away over time.
Right.
But about 15% of people who tend to be people who don't want to deal with their feelings, who tend to keep things in, can develop years and years of chronic types of PTSD.
Right, right. So someone who thinks they may or have this or someone, where would they start? Where would they start to get help?
I think the best thing to do is look for some counseling, to look for some resources. If you look online, there is a National Institute of Health website about PTSD that you can log on to if you just Google it, and then you can kind of get referrals for help within your area where you live.
Certainly this is an interesting topic, and it's more prevalent today as society goes on. We have more trauma. So if you should know someone or you yourself is feeling that this might be something for you, it would be a good idea to seek some help. I'd like to thank Dr. Carnevale for coming on and talking a little bit about it today. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it. Here with another set of events to check out in Clifton are Sharon and Lauren. What's new this week, ladies?
Hello, Clifton. Welcome to the updates, and thank you for tuning in. We've been busy since Thanksgiving. We had a lot going around all throughout the town. We've had boxing for the troops overseas, and we have been collecting food for St. Peter's Haven, as well as the holiday tree lightings all throughout the town. And we just want to welcome and say thank you for meeting us throughout the Clifton and for also supporting the causes that we have. And if you know of any other causes that you'd like for us to announce, please let us know. We'd be pleased to announce them for you.
Hi everyone, I have one update. The Theater League of Clifton will hold auditions for its annual dinner theater, Trouble at the Tropicabana. The days to audition are December 19th and 20th from 7 to 9 p.m. at Mario's Restaurant, located at 710 Van Houten Avenue in Clifton.
So if you'd like to try your acting abilities, please consider going to the auditions. The Theater League would welcome you, and it would be a great event. Thanks so much.
Thank you all for continuing to support the many events that happen here in Clifton. Our city is made up of several neighborhoods that once band together to create a Quackanock Township. From Botany Village near Garfield to Montclair Heights, to the west and Albion to the north, there's no shortage of great places to live in this city. Our next guests play a prominent role in one of these neighborhoods, the Allwood section. Please welcome Dorothy Gondola and Barbara Lemley of the Allwood Women's Club.
Hey there.
Hi, ladies. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I've been in Clifton a long time, and I'm aware of the Women's Club, but I think it's a very well-kept secret. We mentioned it to people, and they say, gee, what is that? So that's why you're here. So maybe you could explain, what is the Women's Club of Allwood?
The Women's Club is part of a federation of women's clubs. It's international. It's the largest service group of women in the world. There's clubs in every state, and a Jersey girl is going to be installed as the president, the international president in this summer. Our club is 85 years old. We were federated in 1932, 33. And I've been a member for over 40 years. And
40 years.
she joined recently, and she's been president. But we're a service club. We do a lot of little projects. We're also social.
Right.
And we have a very warm environment.
Now, you're saying this is nationwide, women's clubs are
It is
nationwide?
nationwide. Yes, it is.
Do you have any idea when the first women's club was started?
1895.
1895.
Yeah,
Okay, so
and they saved the Palisades. That was one of the reasons that they started to join together as women, because at that time they were saving the Palisades, and just recently they were involved with that, and they kept the horizon low so that they
Right.
wouldn't block the whole view of the Palisades. So they're still active.
Okay,
in
so they
doing something
have
like that.
projects, and so now is there, I see here there's a 2-year state project going on?
Right. Every 2 years, a new president comes in and a new project is chosen. So for 2 years, we've been doing the prevention of child abuse as our project. So in our club, we've been focusing on children's programs.
Projects, yes.
So we do,
Well, we've had, from month to month, we've had different programs. We have had we did a pajama party where everybody wore pajamas and they brought a pair of pajamas. We put them together into tote bags, and they were handed out to advocates for children, along with a toothbrush, toothpaste, a stuffed animal, and a storybook. And then we also did a baby shower where we collected infants' clothing, and these were brought to a local hospital and given to the newborn babies when they left, when the mommies left to
Right.
take them home.
The Women's Club, is that it's a nonprofit?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a nonprofit, so
Yes,
it's basically volunteers then,
all
right?
volunteer.
All volunteers.
All volunteer, right.
And that's good because, you help children, and that's a great thing.
We do.
Now, for some reason, you're affiliated with the Allwood Library?
Yes, this is a great story.
Okay.
Years ago, the women, we didn't have a library in this section of Clifton, and the women went to a place called the Chicken Coop, cleaned it out, and made it into a mini library. Then eventually they moved in the front of School 9 in that little circle thing there, and
Right.
they had the library, and they staffed it. But then the library started to take over. So all the children, and then in the 70s, I think, they built the library over by Brighton Road there. And all the children marched from School 9 up to the new library, carried all the books from that library to the new library. So our club has been affiliated with that, and we donate every year to the library. So it's very special to
So it's
us.
sort of like a pet project, I guess,
It
right?
is, yes, it has been.
And now you're the new president, so.
Yes, she is.
What
old
kind of budget,
president.
what kind of budget do you have for this?
Well, we have a scholarship program. We do have two major fundraisers every year, which supplements our budget. But we have a scholarship program for Clifton High School students, and then there are other organizations that we donate to.
One
There's-
of them is the Music Angels, which is a program in the
Right.
Clifton schools.
Right, which is great.
So we donate to them so that they can have instruments. And then also the Guitars for
Guitars
Vets.
for Vets.
We donate to them.
A
That's a really
wonderful-
great program in the
wonderful
VA
program.
hospital. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, absolutely.
we donate, and they can purchase, they do a 12-week program learning to play a guitar, and then they get a guitar.
Oh, that's
So
right,
we're-
yeah, that's right, that's
it's
great.
really
Yeah,
cool.
That is
Yeah,
good because
yeah.
music really helps them.
Right, and we actually had them at our last meeting as our
Oh,
program.
nice. So is that one of the current activities you have going on now, or do you have other different activities?
Well, every month we have projects that we do, so I'm going to do a little thing here. This month we, little show and tell.
George wants one.
Want one, Georgie?
Definitely.
We filled them.
We're filling these for the VA hospital for the fellows
great.
there. We're collecting hand warmers for
These troops overseas. yeah.
overseas.
And-
We've done letters, and today was our book club. So the chairman of the book club collected children's books for a coalition in Newark, and the children who celebrate the Feast of the Three Kings do that. And then one other little project we're doing this month is lifesavers. So we're going to bring
For
them down
our
to our
lifesavers.
lifesavers, the firemen. So we're going to have them, bring
Great.
that there. So every month we have a different project that we
Okay.
do.
It's a constant thing. We're
Right.
either collecting underwear for a organization and children's organization, and we're collecting food products for St. Peter's Haven. For
Right, yeah, a lot of
support
people
them
doing
on
that,
it.
that's a great
Yeah,
cause.
we do that every month.
That-
Yeah,
that's
Every
really
month
good.
we have.
So this is a social club also then,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
We have fun.
Absolutely.
We have fun. We
Yes,
told you
do.
pajama
There is
party
no- There's no meeting without dessert.
no meaning.
No meeting
course,
without
dessert.
dessert. Yeah, have great bakers. It's really
That's
fun.
good. So, and I want to ask you something too. How do people become members? Or are you looking for members?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
We're looking for
yes.
members. Everybody's looking for
Yes.
members. Yes.
Okay, and if someone's interested, we
have-
could tell them right now. How
Okay,
would
we
they?
we have a Facebook page, and we
Okay.
also have a website. It's the Women's Club of Single Women's Club of Allwood.org.
Right.
It brings you right to our page, and it gives all the information.
Okay.
There's a phone number that you can contact us. We meet at the Allwood Community
Yeah, I was
Church.
gonna ask you that.
Yeah. We only meet on the first Monday of the month, like 8 times a year.
Okay, so if someone's interested, we'll give the information
You
at
can
the
do
end of
that.
this.
That would be lovely,
You
and we'd
can
love
go to
to
our
have them.
website, or you could even contact the Allwood Library, where they
Okay.
will
Great,
make sure.
it's George.
I have a question for the
Yes,
ladies.
George.
Can men become a member?
We appreciate men helping us and being our auxiliary, because you can schlep a little bit.
Oh, you want us?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That's
Oh,
fair.
yes.
Trying to be a little worker
Oh,
for
well,
me.
there we go, George. George likes to help. If anyone's interested, please contact them. It's a great organization. Actually, it's been in Clifton, probably one of the longest organizations in Clifton, so it's something good to get involved in. If you're interested, please contact these ladies. The website below, we'll leave it at the end of the show. Thanks very much for
You're
coming
very
on.
We're almost
Thank
as
you.
old as the city of Clifton.
Oh,
Almost
no.
as old as the city
Shut
of
your
Clifton.
mouth. Shut your mouth.
Thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate
very
it.
welcome. Thank you for
Okay.
having
Thank
us.
you.
Meet Clifton will return in one moment.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with the thanks their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when the right to exist was denied. And light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. And light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out. It lasted for so many years.
Well, that's the end of another episode of Meet Clifton. We got to meet one of Clifton's rising stars in Carlos Polanco. We sat down with Dr. Carnevale to discuss PTSD, and we gained some insight into the Women's Club of Allwood from Dorothy Gondola and Barbara Lemney. I'd like to thank them all for coming on tonight. There's still more Meet Clifton coming your way in 2 weeks, so for myself and George and everyone else here at Meet Clifton, we thank you very much for joining us again. As always, be good to your friends and family, respect your neighbors, keep Cliff close to your heart. This is a great city. Thank you, God bless, and good night.